Hi, my name is Pia, and today's lesson we're looking at clean cooking. Clean cooking forms part of the SDG 7, which aims to ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable and modern energy for all by 2030. When we're looking at SDG 7, it's important to distinguish between two elements. On the one hand, we have access to clean cooking, and here we're talking about the people out there that have to cook their meals over an open fire and heat their homes over an open fire. On the other hand, we have access to electricity, and here we're talking about the people that when they come home at night, they're not able to switch on the electric lights, and they're not able to switch in, to pop in their phone and charge it, or have the power to put on their TV or radio and to get the latest news. When we're looking at access to clean cooking, the numbers are quite significant. We're up there nearly at 3 billion people, a very high number. And when we're looking at access, it's just under 1 billion. Two very big numbers, but clearly clean cooking relatively higher than the access to electricity. What these two elements have in common is that the majority of the people without access are located in sub-Saharan Africa and developing Asia. And of these, approximately 80% are located in rural areas as opposed to urban areas. So what is the big problem in having 3 billion people cooking over an open fire every day? Well, one of the major problems is what it contributes in terms of air pollution. It is of course not the only element that contributes to air pollution. There are those that are much more known, such as the transport sector and the power sector, etc. But having no access to clean cooking and heating also contributes here significantly. From a more local perspective, the people that are cooking over these open fires, what is the main problem for them? Well, that is clearly regarding their health. Again, about pollution, and here we're talking about indoor air pollution, the one that you get when you're sitting inside your house. You have very bad ventilation, and hence all the pollutants remain inside the house that you're living. The World Health Organization estimates that there are 2.6 million people that die prematurely every year as a result of indoor air pollution. A very high number indeed. It mainly affects women and children, as they clearly spend much more time at home than the men do. So let's have a summary of what the impacts of traditional cooking are. First, we looked at the environmental, where we are having air pollution and the release of greenhouse gases as being important, but also deforestation, because of course you need to go and find the fuel somewhere, and so you need to cut down the trees, and usually they're not being replaced as you're cutting them down. Then you have health issues. We were talking about 2.6 million people that die prematurely, but also a lot of people that suffer from a range of chronic diseases as a result of this. We have gender issues, because it's usually women and children that go out and collect the firewood, which usually they can spend a lot of time doing, but it's also them that cook over the open fire. This is a lost socio-economic opportunity, because the women, rather than spending their time collecting the firewood and spending hours over inefficient fires, they should be out there either getting an education or starting an income generation activity to better the world, the lives of themselves, but also of their families and their communities. So where are the population without access located today? Here we can see that they're located in sub-Saharan Africa, they're located in developing Asia, mainly in India and in China, and also a little bit in Latin America. Here it's important to clarify that the numbers are indicated in absolute terms, and the very dark shades of green in Asia is mainly because the population is extremely dense there. So what are the solutions? And when we're talking about solutions, we need to distinguish between technologies that are available and the fuels that are available. What is the problem with cooking over an open fire? There are mainly two. On the one hand, it's very energy inefficient. That means you need a lot of fuel to be able to cook your food or heat your home. And on the other hand, it has an inefficient combustion. Those are the two main problems. The first generation of improved cook stoves mainly addressed the first of these. So it aimed to improve the energy efficiency so that you needed less wood to cook your food. And the picture here in the middle is a typical cook stove that you can find in most of the places in the developing countries. It's relatively inexpensive and it can nearly be built from the local material of any place. So very much used. The next step up, when the health issues become more of a hot topic, was to introduce a stove that addressed the inefficient combustion and then reduce the health effects of the pollutant. And here you see a little cook stove where, with the help of a ventilation, the combustion is increased. Both of these are improvements, but if you want real serious improvement both on environmental and on a health aspect, you need to switch fuel. And here you have a couple of different types of fuels that you can switch to. There's the LPG, biogas, electric stove and solar stove. And these are all very good and very useful. They only have a couple of issues that are making them very difficult to implement and use in really poor rural areas. First of all, it is that you need to put down a pretty big investment in investing in the actual cooking material from the beginning. This is an amount that very few poor people have the ability to put down. And the second obstacle is that you also need the type of fuel, whether it's gas or whether it's electricity. It's not very often available in these rural areas. So it'll take a long while before people located very far from the grids and from distribution centers will be able to cook with real clean devices. So where are we today and where have we come from? If you're looking at these graphs, in the year 2000, you can see that there was 49% of the world population that had access to clean cooking. This has increased to 59% in 2016. So a good thing. We can see it's going in the right direction, but it's going in the right direction at a very slow pace. And if we're supposed to be reaching 100% by 2030, it's going to be very difficult at this speed. One of the major obstacles to not increasing fast enough is the population growth. As you can see, in year 2000, there were 6 billion people worldwide, and this has increased to 2016. There's already over 7 billion people. So you're having to play catch up as the population is growing, which is quite difficult in many regions. Here we can see how they're doing in the different regions with this catching up with the world population. They're all doing fine except for one region, and that's Sub-Saharan Africa. In this period, we can see that they managed to provide 6 million people with access to clean cooking, but the population increased by 26. So they're falling behind and they're not keeping up with the population. Last slide, I'd just like you to take a look at the difference between the rural and the urban areas. And here you can see they're both faring well. They are increasing year by year, but rural areas are clearly falling. They have much further to go than the urban areas. And if they're going to have to reach our objective by 2030, it's going to be a lot of hard work. I hope you enjoyed this lesson and thank you for your attention. Bye.